Hi, Sandy. How are you today?
Hey, Amy, I am great. I am
Good.
great. Getting ready for, I don't know, it's starting. Is it okay to start thinking about spring? Is it
Yes.
too early? Maybe I should wait till St. Patrick's Day. We need to get that interim done between Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. So I'll just hold off a little longer.
It's okay to be thinking about it though. I think go for it if it makes you feel good because I'm the same way. I'm just gonna say I tried something this week
Okay.
that has been a game changer for me with this habits. It's that habit stacking or that stacking temptations. What was it? Have temptation bundling. That's what it
That's
was.
it. Yep.
Temptation bundling. And I wanted to report back.
Okay.
I love reading and I don't like cold weather and I don't like walking in cold weather. And you told me about doing the Audible books. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, so that's a good idea because there's no end and I want to keep getting back to it. And so I have walked outside for 4 days this week.
Yay.
I know.
Magic. It's
And
the magic.
it is magic. And here's the thing that was interesting to me though, because one day I was pretty darn miserable. It was cold, it was windy, it was probably in the 40s and windy,
Mhm.
which I don't know what that made the temperature,
The wind
but
is always the game changer.
oh my gosh. And so I had a moment on my walk where I could turn left for the quick way home, or I could go right for the long way home. And I went right
And did you have
because
an audiobook on, or what was that the?
it was because of the book. I was like, oh, I want to have more time with the book. And so I went right and it was great. I survived. So anyway,
That one really works for me too. I'm meeting a friend who lives in a neighborhood across the street, and it will be a long walk on her side. It takes me 15 minutes to get to her house and 15 back. And she's always saying, I can come to you this time, or why don't you drive your car? We'll do a longer walk over here. I really like having that extra half an hour on my audiobook, the 15 there and 15 back. And it ends up being like a 4 mile walk by the time 4 to 5, by the time we're done,
yeah,
because of that, adding that little extra time in, because that's over a mile. Because I think we do about, when we walk, we do about 22-minute miles.
nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
So it's
Yeah.
works for me too.
Right. So that was all about the last time when we talked, this atomic habits, and it was making it attractive. That was the whole gist of it and how you can temptation bundle and stuff like that. So this week we're talking about making it easy. And
Your jam.
my jam, I love this chapter. And I'm just going to tell you the biggest thing that I loved about it was this on page 151. He talks about the law of least effort, and it made me feel better because I've always said I have a little, I think I'm just lazy. I've always said that I'm just lazy because I'm going to do whatever's the easiest to make things work the easiest so I don't have to jump through all the hoops to maintain stuff. So I've always just kind of said I'm lazy. But this law of least effort actually confirms
But you're brilliant. You're not lazy. You're brilliant, Amy.
that's not what it confirms, but
You're doing
but
the right thing.
it says when deciding between two similar options, people will naturally gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. Our real motivation is to be lazy and to do what is convenient. All right. So there I am. I was like, all right, good. There I am.
It's being human. That's part of this too, is it's being human. My aha moment with this chapter was, back to, we think we know the right way to do things. And when they talked about motion versus action, motion being a lot of times a strategy, talking about how you're going to do it. And it's interesting that our motion is never lazy as we're developing things. We come up with all these, really extravagant ways. And the example I'll give is running. I'm going to run a marathon. Okay. back in the day, there were all these books on running a marathon. Here are all these very intricate training programs of you commit and you start and you're going to run 5 miles and you're going to do interval training. You're going to do, all these different things and pacing, and they're all proven, right?
Right.
But there's only so many people who do marathons. So my funny or aha moment was a girlfriend of mine. We were all following a program, and her son, young adult son, decided to run a marathon. And he told her his strategy was, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to run a quarter of a mile. And the next day I'm going to run a half a mile. And he was like increasing it to 2 miles. And then he wasn't even close because of that incremental and close to the marathon up until right at marathon time. And we're all like, oh my gosh, he's nuts. He's crazy, because you do that long run 2 months before, and you're doing these really long runs for months before. You can't just run a marathon and start 2 months before doing a quarter of a mile. And the book talks about, you start with 2 minutes, and he did the marathon. And we're all like, oh, when he did, he's just an aberration, that you got to follow our really complicated, you just have to start. And it was easy for him to say, you know what, today I'm going to do a quarter of a mile. You know what? Now I'm going to do a half a mile. Now I'm going to do, and he just progressively did a little bit more. And the day of the marathon was the first time he did that mileage. And it worked.
It
And
worked.
look back to, we thought he was kind of being lazy or he didn't do his research. Maybe we were overthinking it. And then we never had the action. We had the motion. We did have the action because we did it once, but we never did it again because it was so much work to get there.
Right. It was so complicated and so many steps and like so many, and he just kind of simplified it. He just simplified it for himself, which, you're right, could have been a one-time fluke of, oh, wow, he was able to do it, but maybe not. Maybe that was what was convenient to him. That's the thing that when I was thinking about this statement about what's convenient, I think that's where we're all different, because we all see different levels of effort as convenient.
Right.
Like, so some people, I remember there was a process set up at my kids' old school. And I remember thinking, wow, that's going to take a ton of effort to make that happen every single day. It took like 3 people doing 3 separate things just to get, like, before 7 a.m. to get everybody doing what they wanted them to do. And I was like, wow, is the return on investment worth all of that effort? And you know what? They did it and they maintained it. And I was like, yeah, that's not what I would have done, because that's not convenient for me. You know what I mean? Like, my level of convenience was like, yeah, that's a no-go. But they're
a little different.
Everybody's different, and they were able to maintain it. Now it was their job to maintain it. So that it was part of their job. And I think that's kind of where a little bit of responsibility comes in to that, about if it's your job, you're more likely to maintain systems. And sometimes we don't even like think them through of what we're actually doing to evaluate if the whole process is actually efficient.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's just something somebody told you to do. And so you just keep doing it.
And that's I think the big thing about making it easy is when we do add it into our system and our flow and make it easy for ourselves to always reevaluate and say, do I want that? Is that something I actually want? And is it increasing my quality of life?
Right.
And that's where this whole time concept is crazy to me, how the older we get, the days seem shorter, and there's actually psychology behind that. But it makes me more aware that my time is so much more meaningful. All this time I thought I was going to have after the kids were grown and I had less pressure of a job, I just feel like my days are shorter. But it's the psychology is it's because we're more aware of what a minute is worth. Whereas when you're a child, you don't have that concept of time. You haven't gained that experience of repetition of knowing over and over again, a minute, 5 minutes, an hour. And because we have that awareness, that clock is going in our mind all the time, right? But this daily habit, I continue to do this daily habit checklist, and it's very good for me because it does help me, even at a glance, to go back and say, this is really how I'm filling my day. And do I want to take a few of these easy things out that have become part of my morning routine, right? Part of my evening routine, because part of making it easy is when you have those natural stops. And for me, the morning routine, here are the things that I do every morning. Once have my coffee, read my book, I've got these series of things, which ones are important. The fact that I leave the door open to the bedroom makes it really important for me to always make the bed and the bed to look nice.
Yeah.
That's worth it for me, that making the bed. But the obvious thing and the easy thing is leave the door open. First of all, it's easy to get to the bed. And the other thing is I don't like the look of that messiness and for anybody to see that. So I want a well-made bed.
Yeah. So that's a funny thing, making the bed, because that's a perfect example of how do you make it easy? How do you make it obvious? How do you make it attractive? Okay.
Mhm.
And sometimes, like, you live on a single level house, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
And it's
Yeah.
a small house. I mean, it's a little mountain house.
So you see your bedroom walking around, like you can see in your bedroom.
I
Yes.
have to go through it because they added on my office. So to get to my office, especially in the winter, because from outside, you have to go through the bedroom. So it's not like this room tucked in the end. The bedroom's kind of in the middle of the house, kind of.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we live on a 1.5 story. So our bedroom's on the main level too. And we make our bed every day because the door's open. We're walking past it. Our last house, my husband's office, he had to go through the bedroom to
Okay,
get to
same
the
thing.
office. So same thing. But the house before that, I can go through all my houses. Isn't that funny? The house before that, my kids were little and all of the bedrooms were upstairs. So my kids would wake me up in the morning. I'm groggy. I climb out of bed. I go downstairs. Every time I'm coming upstairs, I was juggling something. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I just was walking by leisurely with some time. There was usually things. I never made my bed. It was not, and I never saw my room. It was like, I don't need to make it just didn't occur to me that this needed to happen. And
Right.
it was a hassle to do. So why even do it? So it's kind of sometimes your house isn't set up to make things easy
Mhm.
too, or attractive or needed. Like don't identify it as a need because it's just kind of out of the way.
Right. And part of it is with making it easy. Things are a lot easier when you don't have little kids climbing in bed, putting down for naps, throwing the laundry on there. Because I tell you, the other thing is back when my kids were young and, nothing was easy, right? I mean, we had to work pretty hard at a lot of things and we were managing them too, right? That bedroom, when we had the first house where it was 2-story and nobody, it was a tri-level actually, but nobody had any reason to go upstairs because there were only bedrooms upstairs. I would keep the main level, the toy room in the basement, close the basement door. I would keep the main level clean, but those bedrooms, that's where I'd throw the laundry I didn't have time to fold.
Yeah.
That's where I would put a bunch of the baby toy stuff that was cluttering things up because it wasn't easy to keep my entire house clean at that time. And it wasn't practical either because I had to keep kids littles occupied.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I'm totally with you. So anyway, that was making the bed is an interesting obstacle good thing. And I think we have to give ourselves grace of where we are in life and where it's going to work.
Right.
So one of the things that you were talking about the training for a marathon.
Mhm.
And one of the things that is mentioned in this book is this idea that perfection is the best is the enemy of good.
Ooh, that's good. The best is the enemy of good.
Right. Because, we're going for the best way to train for a marathon. So we don't even try what could be good
Right.
or okay, because we're not doing it the best way, because the best way is hard. The best way requires all of this stuff. And so we don't even, it's paralyzing. It just kind of stops us in our tracks.
Right. Right. Which is so true in so many things. And I think working out in general, that happens a lot, whether it be training for a marathon, whether it be yoga. Um, we feel like we have to be all in and going for the look of the instructor, the marathon runner I want to place for my age group. And then it's paralyzing. You do nothing because it's overwhelming. And
Right.
the whole thing, I mean, to do a marathon, and I think about his mentality right now, if you were to ask me, the young runner, if you were to say, hey, do you want to do a marathon with me? I go right for that. Oh my gosh, the time commitment, how many months, how would okay, I have to do this. That's one more thing even to track it. And it would be paralyzing. And even if I were to commit, would I follow through on it? But following his action of, you know what, I'm just going to see what a quarter of a mile feels like. And if I
Right.
walk, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just,
And
yeah.
but I'll tell you, just for running, there's been times in my life recently that I've had different, a knee injury or something that kept me from running for a short period of time, and trying to pick that up again is not the easiest thing. And I had to give myself the grace of just saying, you know what? If you don't even look at your, say you're walking, just say an open exercise on my watch and go out. And if I walk for a little bit, run for a little bit, but just to say I ran some today, that's good enough. That's what it's always taken for me to get back in the groove of things effortlessly and enjoying, because I wasn't going for, I've got to be back to that half marathon again, because then I tend to give up.
Yeah.
Because it's not that easy in the beginning, and things get harder when you get older.
Yeah.
It's a reality when it comes to exercise and sport. I can't do those same routines of getting things going that I used to be able to do.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, people do this a lot. When I work with people, the best is the enemy of the good. Like if I'm working with somebody in their office and they're, they've got papers or they're struggling with organization and they're trying to be more productive and they're like, my desk isn't working, or my file cabinet's not working, or there's all of these things that are feeding into this isn't the best setup. So I'm just throwing my hands up and giving up. Like it's not like I'm just gonna like this isn't the best. So it's not worth even trying to be good. Like it's not even gonna be good. There's no way. So there's always that conversation of, okay, let's just work with what we've got and let's bring it back to, let's just try to make it good so it works better for you with what you've got. And I think about that a lot because everybody's trying to go for the best. We've talked about this with social media, that whole image and the picture, and we want to, the pressure it puts on people to be that and to be that, whatever that is.
I see that a lot in social media with the logging of events and how simple things like homecoming. Okay, let's pick on homecomings.
Yeah.
I have very fond memories of homecomings when I was a kid, and they weren't recorded on social media when I was a teenager. And also, it wasn't this big, the best is the enemy of the good. I think is I'm going to outdo the next person by coming up with the coolest way to ask somebody to HOCO. It's all become
Yeah.
people think they're reaching for the best by having these really elaborate ways to ask, but I think it's taking away from the good, enjoying the moments, because
Right.
it's made all about that. And even being pregnant, the reveal, and I'm just going to pick on these things because it's people looking for the best, the reveal parties, the
Yeah.
elaborate weddings, and they're striving for the best on film. But I truly feel in all these situations, the best is the enemy of the good, because the good are those moments, they're those snapshots I'm finding where people don't know I'm taking a picture and they're laughing and they're enjoying somebody's company. It's those things. And it isn't the elaborate Durango mountain background, kissing picture, giving the dip. That's everybody wants the shot, but that's the enemy, is striving for that shot when the good is what's happening all around. And I just think that's such a good visual example of the relevance of that quote, because it's so much in front of us as we scroll through social media, because we're seeing that longing for the best.
Right. And we just don't appreciate the good.
Good.
Yeah. We don't appreciate the good that's right in front of us, because the guy that asked us to homecoming didn't go viral with how cool his, idea was, whatever it was. It was just
Whatever
a
it was.
you know what I mean? So I think that's a huge, like, that's a big thing. So getting back to habits, do you have any habits that, or here's some things. Do you have some things that bother you that you feel like you can never get done? Like, it's like nuisance things that, like, I have a lot of people I work with that have papers, like the papers, and they're dealing with papers. And so figuring out easier processes to process paper so that it's an easier habit to maintain.
For me, it's really helped that we've gone to a smaller space and went through the pain of several moves, consolidating houses, moving. And because of that, I have a real issue with collecting anything in closets or paper. So it bothers me, and so you don't see much of it. Right now, there is a little stack over here, but that will be cleaned off by end of day. I would tell you, for me, and I'll tell you how I'm working on it, is when I'm working on something work related with a client, I'll take a lot of little notes like this. I'll have things go through my head that have a follow-up. So I end up with a lot of little notes. Like I get off one, I have to go to the next Zoom call. I go to the next client, and I hate that feeling, but I have all these notes that the best process would be to get them taken care of right away. Whether it needs to go on an electronic list, a calendar Outlook, just either knock them out right away or put them in their proper place and take them off the paper. Well, on a bad week, all those notes accumulate by different clients, and that's bothersome. And I'll tell you that they will sit for a little while, because I'll brief through them and see what has to be done, highlight. So that I struggle with, but I try really hard, before I'll tell myself, you can't pick up, a new project, the shiny nickel, when I have those breaks in time until I get through those papers. So and I tell you, the easy part for me in that having a habit is keeping those papers visible, because I don't like having them there. It's a reminder that it's something that needs to be done. The worst thing I could do is put them in my drawer, because I don't see them. So
Yeah.
And I do like to clean. We have a cleaning lady that comes every 2 weeks, and I literally put all kinds of everything away, even my knickknacks, my cards, everything. And then my routine is, so then she can get everything cleaned off. I have to put it back out again. That's a great thing, because it's kind of like unpacking again for the first time. And I know I'm going to put all this stuff away, and I don't do anything until everything is put back out again, but it's kind of a fresh start. And that's when you see the little notes and things. So that works for me too.
I love cleaning ladies being on schedule, because that's a bit of an accountability partner of, 2 weeks, I got to clear off my desk so it can be cleaned. What do I need to take care of to get everything cleared off and put away? And then it's a very intentional about what you're bringing back out.
Mhm.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a really good. I love accountability partners. That's a huge.
What I need to do, and you can challenge me on this before when we get to our next call, is what I really, my problem is finding time for some of the big projects that I really enjoy doing, but I see them as the marathon. Okay, I've got to commit. They're really the marathon. I've got to commit to, and two that I'll give you is I'm actually doing a great job with the writing, because I vocalized, and they have a word for this in the book, but I basically told the world I'm doing a throwback on Thursdays and a new one on Sundays. I committed to that schedule. So there's no Sandy saying, I'll do it on Monday. I don't have time this week, because I vocalized that. And I told people that follow my page that this is when they were going to get material, but the other one would be my website. And I'm excited about it and I enjoy doing it, but I have to follow, there's a protocol. I bought a template to make it easier with the colors. So you have to do Canva and they walk you through it, but I have to pick the words and I have to pick the pictures, and it's a lot of fun, but I see it as the marathon. And so now I need to I'm going to do a half mile today. I need to commit to do something every day without it feeling like this block of 50 hours. Unless I'm never going to have a block of 50 hours. So we need to do it in bite-sized chunks. So be my accountability partner and ask me how that went next week. And hopefully I'll direct everybody to my new website.
All right.
Or something. You can put it up, because they say that too in the training. They're great at this. I love it that you can buy this template, and they've done all the video, and they keep saying it's back to the best is the enemy of the good.
Right.
Get the good, get it in there, put it up, and then you can tweak it. It doesn't have to be best, but get it to good.
Right. And let it.
That's so hard, Amy. Why is that so difficult? Because I'm not a perfectionist. I don't see myself as a perfectionist, but I see myself falling in this rabbit hole of wanting the best.
What yours is probably more about is the time to commit to even get it to good. Like it's just overwhelming to get to even good enough to put. I don't think you're a perfectionist either. I don't feel like you are. Like you don't need it to be perfect to put up, but you've just got to set aside the time to get it to good. And so what you're doing by doing those small chunks, small pieces, that helps you get at least going in the direction instead of, I work with people all the time who set aside a Saturday to clean out their garage. Well, the Saturday comes and goes. The Saturday comes and they've got better things to do because it's such a big project that they're like, I got other things to do. So that's like one of the biggest procrastinated items, clean out the garage because it's such a big project.
So big.
Yeah. And so and I would even say set a timer for 15 minutes, work on your website, maybe half an hour, but set the timer. And when it beeps, walk away after your designated time, because again, that from my experience working with people, if you set your timer for half an hour to work on your website and then you're on a roll and you're like, well, I'm just going to keep working on it, and I'll get this whole thing done. And then an hour and a half later, you're closing up your computer and you're like, oh, that's awesome. I got that done. But oh my gosh, I've been here an hour and a half. And now it's kind of thrown the rest of your schedule off a little.
Right.
And then so tomorrow, when you have your half an hour designated, or the next time you're planning it, you won't even start because you're like, I'm going to get sucked in and I'll be there an hour and a half. And so then it starts that cycle of procrastination again. So if you're going to do it, stick to it.
Right.
Do your 15 minutes, your half an hour, and actually stick to it so that it gives you that rhythm of continuing on and getting it to good.
I'm going to do it, Amy.
Okay. Good luck. Let me know how it goes. And I'm just going to say, I just want to confess, it's really easy to share stuff like this with other people. It's harder to apply it to my own life Like I'm
Mhm.
sitting here thinking I have a project in mind that I've been setting aside my Thursday mornings. Like I think I've got 2 to 3 hours on my calendar every Thursday morning. And I'm sitting here thinking I am just setting myself up for failure instead of doing the little smaller, more achievable. I'm going for the best. Like if I spend all this time, so I'm doing the same exact thing. I just don't want you to feel like you're the only one.
And it works to apply it, even, and I'll tell you back to, uh, thank you for being with me on this one, that saying that you have this issue too. I'm
Yes.
gonna I'm gonna put a little note that says the best is the enemy of the good on my computer
Yeah.
too, because it's things like yesterday was Thursday. It was a busy day for me. I had a lot going on. I thought I got to post, and I hadn't even picked which blog. And I said, just do it. You've already published this once, because I like to re-edit when I put it back on, freshen it up, because I hope to use, if I just want to freshen them up and re-edit.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I just did it. And it, in total, it took me a half an hour, because I'm like, just do it, get it over there, give it another, spell check, give an audit, read through it. Cause here's the other thing is, if later I'll read it when I get home, if I catch something, I can go back in and edit a word. It's not the end of the world, right? I can
Right.
change a
Yeah.
word. I can change things.
Yeah.
There's some things that have permanence and some things that don't, and it's okay. Good is okay, and we can keep working for best, and that's part of tweaking. And we live in a world where a lot of things we can edit a little bit. We have a little bit of we have a edible
Editable.
editable. Thank you.
Edit. Yeah.
Edit
That's a tough word.
word.
All right. Well, I think this is a great conversation. We'll do part 4 next time of Atomic Habits, but making it easy. I love this concept of the best is the enemy of the good. Let's just try to go for good, keep it simple, minimize steps, give yourself some grace, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Action's better than motion, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Until next time, Amy, I'll set aside my time for the website here shortly.
All right. Thanks, Sandy. Have a good
Bye-bye.
week. Bye.